Have you ever left the movie theater feeling kinda meh about what you just saw? Like you just wasted your time on a fancy copy of an old flick that you used to love. Hollywood's got this nostalgia problem. I like to call it a nostalgia hangover. And this nostalgia hangover they have just won't quit. They think that bringing back the past is what we want. They think that bringing back the past is what's going to take us to the theaters. But the thing is, they're missing the point. The real deal, the heart and soul of what makes movies awesome, is getting lost in all of that nostalgia and all of that past. So we're going to have a chat about why this love of old things that Hollywood has is ruining its own creativity. Hollywood's got this big old problem with original ideas. They're all about those safe bets, with franchises like Star Wars and Marvel and DC, because those franchises have built in fan bases. In other words, we're just going to get the same nostalgia trip over and over and over again, because that's what our wallets are telling these studios. We're letting these studios know with our wallets that we just want to see these remakes. We just want to see all these big franchises. We don't want anything new. We don't want anything original. It's like, why gamble on a fresh script when you can just revisit something else and make it a little bit newer? But here's the kicker. It's leaving us with a desert of fresh ideas. Indie filmmakers, the heart and soul of the industry, the people who gave birth to the industry to begin with, they're getting squeezed out, and we're missing out on all of those fresh ideas and things that would be really cool to see if we didn't just flood it with all of this franchise crap. Don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars, I love Marvel, I love DC, but I also love the art of filmmaking, which is why it saddens me to see that indie filmmakers are being treated lesser than these big studios. It's like we're in a time loop. We're just exploring the same old things over and over again instead of going to new worlds. And let's talk about the quality of these remakes, if you can even call that quality. Sometimes they totally miss the mark. For example, the Power Rangers movie in 2017. It tried to be all dark and serious, but it totally forgot all of the cheesy fun of the original series that we fell in love with. Nothing beats the originals. Yeah, I guess it could be interesting to see a rehash of it if it was made right, if it was made in the way that made it spin in a unique way. Otherwise, it's like copying a copy of a photo. It just gets blurrier each time you do it. These remakes often mess with what made the originals so special. And it's a bummer that they don't even come close to the magic that we remember. It's disappointing and frustrating that all this focus on the old stuff is drowning out all the new talent, all the new filmmakers wanting to come into the industry to tell their stories, to bring their unique visions to the screen. And all of the fresh actors that are just breaking into the industry as well are getting drowned out by all these big names that are in these big franchises. Big names that get recycled again and again and again and again, like Tom Holland or Chris Hemsworth or anybody else that's been in Marvel practically. Big studios just want the big names, the big actors, the big directors and writers for their nostalgia projects. But again, what about the newbies that are trying to break into the industry? Newbies that are trying to make a name for themselves? How did they get noticed and how do they shine? Because I don't think they get treated very fairly. Unless they're in a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, being in an indie movie trying to break into the industry, these days, it's not going to do you any good. It's just a never-ending cycle of playing it safe. But wait, there's more. Hollywood's marketing gurus are like nostalgia ninjas. They play those old tunes in the trailers, flash those classic images sometimes, The whole, this was the original and now this is the remake and this is what we're doing different, even though it's not different, it's just stupid. But it works. Suddenly, we're all hyped about reliving a movie that we've already seen. They're not selling movies anymore. They're just selling warm, fuzzy feelings of nostalgia because it brings back good memories. But when the movie doesn't live up to the hype, it just becomes a big letdown. And let's be real. How many times has this happened? It's a trick that leaves us all with the feeling of being cheated out of a good theater experience. Nostalgia isn't all bad, though, and not all remakes are horrible. Some are pretty cool. I cannot say the same for most of Disney's live-action remakes. However, we still gotta do something about this trend. We can't keep living in the past all the time. We need to start looking for those indie gems. Because again, they're the heart and the soul of the movie industry. The ones that birthed it. Without indie films, the big names in film that you know today wouldn't be the big names in film that they are. They all started as indie film directors, indie film writers, even George Lucas with Star Wars. So let's show Hollywood what we're really into. Let's get behind indie films. Go to film festivals. Search YouTube for indie films. You'd be surprised how many free indie films are on YouTube. I've found some pretty good ones, especially short indie films. The only way to keep the film industry alive is to honor what gave birth to it in the first place, is to get back to recognizing these indie filmmakers and actors as the roots of the film industry. The only way that the industry will survive is to embrace indie films. Yeah, these big studio productions are fine, but they're holding us back. Indie films are the only films that can revolutionize this industry because they were the ones that revolutionized it to begin with.